Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome, and welcome back to part 3 of our series about the 2027 paradigm shift. And if you have not listened to the first 2 parts, this is one of those series that I recommend starting from the beginning, just to give you some context so you can understand what this episode is about. So if you are just popping onto this show today, I would recommend going back and listening to part 1 and 2 before listening to this episode. And in this third one and final one here, I want to give you some really practical integration for how to prepare your body, your energy, and your nervous system for this shift that we're stepping into. Now, we're all moving into this new paradigm, but as soul-led, soul-guided women, we are going to feel things just on a different level as maybe the everyday Jane. And so it's going to require some regulation and embodiment and self-trust. And I want to give you the tools to take with you into this new era. My goal for this, the intention, I want you to feel safe in the uncertainty, because there is a lot of uncertainty, as we talked about in the previous episode. I want you to understand what your body is doing during the shift, because you are going to feel it on a physiological level, this shift, this recalibration that's happening. And I want you to learn how to stabilize without going backwards. We're leaving some things behind and stepping into some new ways of doing things. And we don't have to take that stuff with us. So can we stabilize without going backwards? And probably most importantly, I want you to be able to trust yourself as the new structure. I'm going to dive into that a little bit in this episode, because this is what we're creating, the body, you as the new structure, you yourself. And the thing is about this shift we're stepping into, and as I'm recording this, I'm not going to lie, I literally recorded this whole episode and didn't realize until I was done that it had stopped recording at some point. And after being really mad and wanting to throw my computer out the window for a few minutes, I thought, okay, well, maybe there was something that I left out, that it was meant, has to be better than the first one. So here we are. I'm doing it again, trying again. And maybe there's new things that were meant to come out that didn't come out the first time around. So the thing with the shift, this 2027 shift, is this requires a physiological preparation. This isn't like, we're not going to mental our way through this. The mindset work isn't going to get us through this shift. It is a preparation that requires our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual body. It requires us, our bodies. And it's going to require a body that feels safe to evolve. And that's what I want this to be for you. What I offer you here in this more tangible episode is to be able to help you create a body that feels safe enough to evolve. The old paradigm, the one we're leaving behind, rewarded mental override. It was all mental, right? It was structures and systems. It was all very mental, very cerebral. The new paradigm requires a somatic capacity. It requires a body that feels safe to hold all the things. Remember, we talked about in the previous episode, there's all of these emotional things coming up because there's things happening in the sacral center and the solar plexus. Like, that's the energies that are coming out. And so if your body doesn't feel safe, then the clarity is not going to land. We lose touch with our intuition when our body doesn't feel safe. So in order to be self-sourced and that self-sovereignty that we were talking about, it requires a body that feels safe to be able to get to reach those parts of us. And the fact is, we can't think our way into stability. This is why the work is in the body. And it's why I do the work that I do, putting all these pieces together, the physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, all of these pieces, because the work is in the body. We can't think our way through this. We can't think our way into this shift and think our way. It doesn't work like that. The body has to be prioritized before the strategy. And safety is what precedes clarity. We have to have a body that feels safe in order to reach that clarity that we're looking for. So if we're looking at how to kind of navigate that liminal space, that void we talked about in the second episode, safety is what's required. And the safety comes from a nervous system that is the foundation. The nervous system is the new foundation when we're going into this 2027 paradigm shift. And this is what replaces structure as the foundation for leadership. Leadership starts with the nervous system. And I want to say this about the nervous system. We hear about nervous system a lot, nervous system regulation a lot these days. And I feel like it's kind of in this like trendy space. We talk about it a lot, which granted, I think there's a lot of good to that because we're recognizing that the nervous system plays a part in so many things and a regulated nervous system is important and all that. I feel like sometimes because we hear it so much, there's a lot of like fluffy and very superficial ways of talking about the nervous system. And so I think sometimes we hear about it and we're just like, yeah, I know. And then that's it. That we just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. I know we need to regulate nervous system. Like I know. But the thing I wanted to bring up here about the nervous system that I think is important to pull out, like, yes, nervous system regulation is important, a regulated nervous system. But more than that, the word that I would like to use to talk about this is a flexible nervous system. Because I think when we talk about regulating our nervous system, we think that we're trying to build this body, this nervous system that never gets dysregulated. I'm just regulated all the time, and I'm sitting with doing my breath work in my mind 24/7, and I'm never regulated and I'm perfect. And that's not what we're shooting for. It's not what we're going for. Because we are humans living a human existence. We're going to get dysregulated. Your nervous system is going to get dysregulated. It is a guaranteed fact that it's going to happen probably multiple times a day. So the fact is, it's not about being regulated all the time. It's about having the flexibility or pliability to regulate after you've been dysregulated. So it's allowing yourself to feel the things, feel the feels, get dysregulated when it happens, but then having the resources, having that self-sourced, that self-empowerment to be able to bring yourself back down to homeostasis, right? To bring yourself back down to that regulated state. And so it's not about not getting regulated. It's about how quickly can we bring ourselves back down to that regulated space after we've been dysregulated. And so when we talk about the nervous system as the foundation, I want you to think about it more as just this working with flexibility, like a rubber band, right? It goes back to its shape. That's what we're talking about. So in the old paradigm, safety came from predictability, from plans, from roles, from structure. In the new paradigm we're stepping into, the safety now has to be internal. Remember, that's what we're moving into. It's individual, it's internal, it's all self-sourced. It's about self-sovereignty, self-empowerment. It comes from inside. And because of that, this regulation can make the void feel really scary because all the safety has to come from with the inside now. And so now we're relying on ourselves, right? We're letting go of the structures and the predictability and all these things that have been safe thus far. And now we have to find safety within ourselves. And so the breakdown that's happening here as we're leaving the old and stepping into the new is we're leaving behind some of these patterns that kept us in this dysregulated state chronically. So the chronic urgency we've talked about so much on the show, and there's a reason that I've talked about it so much. There's a reason it's come up on the show so much because this is such a common pattern that all comes from the old paradigm. And that's what we have to leave behind. This chronic urgency is really just a leftover survival pattern, right? Because in the old paradigm, it was all about the productivity and the output and all of those things. So that everything was urgent. We're leaving that behind. The breakdown also is this, it's also the overstimulation and the chronic doing, like all of these things blocks our connection to our intuition. And this is the source of the burnout that we're going to see, we've been seeing, and we're going to continue to see as these pieces start to break down and fall away. As I mentioned in the second episode, or maybe the first one, burnout in this new paradigm is going to be like a full stop, and it's going to be a forced stop. Like this is going to be the sign to us of misalignment, and it's a forced stop because of misalignment. The chronic urgency, the constant doing and stimulation, like all of these patterns, this is what we're leaving behind. This is from the old paradigm. And this is what is leading to that unstable nervous system foundation we're talking about. So if we want to build that strong foundation of a strong, flexible nervous system, we have to let go of these old patterns that were from the old paradigm. And so if we are running in these chronic states for a long period of time, what chronically means over a long period of time, this is when we have a nervous system that stays chronically dysregulated. It's not about never getting dysregulated. It's when it's there chronically, when you're there all the time. So how do you know if your nervous system is asking for support? Here's some things, some signs. First, think of a fatigue. First, one might be a fatigue that rest alone doesn't fix, right? The sleep, the rest, the naps, all that, like I still feel the fatigue, I still feel the exhaustion. Another one that's so common is heightened emotional sensitivity. So you're super triggered by things like emotionally, and you're like, why am I getting so upset about this? It's not even that big of a deal. This heightened emotional sensitivity where things you just are triggered left and right. Another one is intolerance for noise or pressure or chaos. Again, easily triggered by like overstimulation, noise, pressure. It's like all of a sudden your capacity is like this big. You don't have the capacity for it. The other one that I feel like we don't talk about enough is a desire to withdraw or to simplify. And this is a sign your nervous system is giving you that it's dysregulated. Like, I need some support. This desire to withdraw from people, like I need time alone, I need to get away, I need to let go. Like this is a sign that your nervous system is asking for support. So if our nervous system is asking for support, how do we manage or deal with or regulate this? It all comes down to energy management. So remember in the last episode of this series, I talked about how energy is going to be the new currency in this new paradigm. And so it's not about time, it's about energy. And I've talked about this and this misconception people have about burnout. So many people think that burnout is a time thing. It's like I'm doing too much, like a time management thing. Really, it's an energy management thing. So energy management is going to replace time management. Time management was a cross of planning skill. It was a skill from the cross of planning, the incarnation cross we're leaving. It was time management. Energy management is this sleeping phoenix era necessity. Like this is what it's about. Energy as a currency. So now it's energy management. And we always talk about, time is something that you can't get back. Time and energy both really are things you don't get back. But I feel like energy is most important. Like when you give your energy away, that you don't get that back. So the energy management is going to be crucial. So you can no longer just push through the low energy, right? It's no longer going to work. Your body now is going to shut that down so fast. It's no longer the burnout symptoms and all these things around, but like this is going to be how your body is giving you the signals. Your energy leaks are going to be more costly than ever. And your body is going to tell you now, especially those of us, again, who are soul-led, soul-guided women who are very aware of our bodies, that like this is what's going to be screaming at you. The energy leaks are going to be more costly than ever. So what does energy management actually look like? First, fewer obligations, right? Maybe it's more yeses or at least more intentional yeses, right? Setting the boundaries, not saying yes to everything just because you can or just because you have always said yes and you don't usually say no. Fewer obligations. It looks like strategic rest. It looks like rhythmic work instead of constant output, like working with your natural rhythms and cycles instead of constant output. And when I say rhythms and cycles, like, yes, I mean things like cycle syncing. We've talked about that before, and living and working and doing according to your menstrual cycle. But I also mean just your natural creative rhythms and your natural creative cycles. So, and a lot of this has to do with your human design type. So for example, if you're a manifestor, you have very clear creative bursts, right? And we know creative bursts and rest bursts. So honoring those things, but really all of us do. And I've talked about this before too, this kind of everything going in rhythms and seasons. Everything in nature has a rhythm and a season, right? The flowers don't bloom all year long. The trees lose their leaves at some point and they come back. Like everything works in seasons and rhythms, including us. And so letting go of the notion that it's about constant output and really working with your natural rhythms and cycles and seasons and having that be how you manage your energy. It is how it is. This is the whole like work smarter, not harder thing. Again, working with your seasons and with your cycles. So some tangible examples of this. Think of maybe you work in shorter, more focused bursts, right? It's not about working the 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 or whatever, but it's having those shorter focused bursts and allowing yourself space and time. It's building white space into your days, like having space where you're not cramming your day full of everything the whole day long, but having white space where like, yeah, maybe you fill in that space sometimes, but maybe it's just empty space other days. It looks like saying no to things that feel heavy, even if they make sense. And I want to give you an example here. There was this coach that I've worked with on and off for the past 4 years, this mentor, and I love her to death. Like she's one of my favorite people on the planet. I've loved working with her. She's like a magical oracle witch. Like she's amazing. And so I was in this year-long container with her that ended at the beginning of this year. And so it came up that, it was up to either you could go into her next cohort, which is going to be like a 6-month thing or not. And so she sent me in and she gives a really great discount if you've been in there. Like it's great. And so she sent it to me and it wasn't an immediate yes, and I'm a sacral authority. So that in and of itself, I was like, well, I still wanted to sit with it though. So I told her, just let me sit with it. And Hey, y'all, we'll get right back to the episode. But first, let me ask you this. You've built a vision that others admire. And you've built something that you're really proud of. But behind the scenes, your body feels like it's lagging behind. It just can't quite catch up to your brilliance and your mission that you have. That late night second wind, the foggy mornings, the hormone shifts, the endless push and forcing. You can't strategize your way out of that. And you already know you don't need more supplements. You don't need another supplement stack. You also don't need another side hustle disguised as self-care, because nobody wants to have their health as a side hustle. This is about recalibrating your entire ecosystem. And that's why I created the Quantum Reset, a premium 3-month high-touch healing experience for visionary women who are ready to feel as powerful in their bodies as they do in their business. Inside, we decode your nervous system, your minerals, your hormones. We read your labs like the sacred text that it is, so we have actual answers. And then we pair that with deep energetic recalibration, subconscious release. We use gene keys, we use human design, and true embodied healing. This isn't about fixing burnout, because that's not what we're doing here. This is about becoming the woman whose body is powerful, whose body is completely electric, whose energy, clarity, radiance finally matches the size of her mission. If you know your success isn't meant to cost you your vitality, and you're ready for a science-backed, spirit-led reset, then the Quantum Reset is your invitation. So check the link in the show notes or send me a message on Instagram, and let's bring your body back online with your brilliance. Now, let's get back to the show. Feel into it. And for whatever reason, like it made sense. It totally made sense. Like, she gave this great discount. It was this 6-month thing. I loved the group. I love her. She's kind of shifting in what she's teaching. Like, it was perfect, but it just wasn't, it didn't feel right. And for whatever reason, and I told her that of course she understood how, I make decisions and stuff. So she totally respected and honored it. But for me, it was kind of frustrating because I wanted to, but it just didn't make, it did make sense, but I didn't feel it in my body. So for me at the time, I think the more I've thought about it, the more I feel like I was talking about the white space a second ago, like building more white space into your days. And so I feel like that's what my body was telling me, like, hey, you're trying to like let go of things, because I've been in this really intentional space of letting go of things and not taking on too much. And I mentioned in the last episode, like letting go of what I'm putting in, like the coaching and the mentorship and all that. And so I feel like that's probably part of it, or, my body was telling me like, hey, you wanted more space. Like, this could be one thing that's going to end up filling up, some of that space that you're wanting. So I wanted to give you that example of saying what it looks like saying no to things, even when they make sense, even when you may want to, like on a conscious level, but then your body is telling you something else, like letting that be, and letting that be what is correct for you and for your nervous system. Now, what I want to bring to you here also around building this foundation is recognizing that your body is going to be recalibrating. Your body is going to be recalibrating to this shift that we're moving into. I want to normalize this, because you may have already been feeling it. The signs, the physical signs, maybe you haven't yet, but you will. But your body is going to be the telltale signs of this recalibration that we're stepping into. Maybe you felt it before and you thought something was wrong with you. You thought your body was like, what's happening to my body? Like, your body is going to tell you. And this is what it might look like. It might look like hormonal shifts where it's like, I can't explain what's happening. All of a sudden my hormones are all over the place. It might look like emotional waves. And I've been feeling this, and really, I would say probably over the past year or so, but especially over the last 6 months, where it wasn't tied to my hormones. It wasn't like, oh, I'm about to start my period, I'm super emotional. Like, cause I don't really have that. But it's just like random times where these waves of emotion comes and I'm like, okay, here they are. Like, I'm just going to be with it, right? You might have these emotional waves, because here's the thing, this recalibration process, this shift, well, let me say this, the shift moving into this new paradigm is a recalibration process. We're letting go of these old things and we're stepping into this new ways of doing and being and living, and it requires energy. Right? We think about emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. So there's going to be things that come up as we're recalibrating and letting go of things. Of course, emotions might be heightened. It might be all over the place. You might have changes in your appetite, your sleep, your libido, your energy. You might feel a desire to slow down or to simplify, just feeling like I have to let some things go. I have to simplify. You also might feel periods of low motivation followed by periods of clarity. And I mentioned in the second episode that I've been feeling this a lot, where you might have these days or weeks or even longer, right? Where you're like, I'm just not motivated. I love the work I do, but why am I not? I'm just not feeling it. And then all of a sudden, a week or so later, like all of a sudden you have the clarity. So all of this, I want to normalize all of this, because these are all just signs that you are in the change. You are in the recalibration. Like you are in it, you're feeling it, and your body is telling you, because it's all just signs of repatterning. The old identities live in your body. They live there. The old ways of doing things, the old patterns, they all live in the body. And so as they dissolve, as we let go of these, the body has to reorganize, the body has to repattern. And this takes energy. It requires energy. So your physical body is going to give you the signs that you're shedding things, emotions are moving, energy is moving. All of these things are good. These are all signs, signals of this transition. So I feel like this is something to be celebrated when you're feeling the things in the physical body, because it's like, yes, like my body is adjusting to this. Like my body is repatterning. My body is reorganizing. I want to offer you something here to take with you if you feel like this serves you. I feel like us, and I'm saying us as soul-led, soul-guided women, the women who are listening to this, we are not meant to operate at full capacity during this recalibration. And I dare say it might be dangerous to operate at full capacity during this recalibration period, because as I said, there's these old identities that are dying. Like there is energy, there is so much energy moving. There's so much energy being transmuted and mutated into something new. There's so much happening. And so when we're expecting ourselves to operate at full capacity, it's going to end up being typically either you operating in old patterns, right? Trying to do things in the old ways of doing things, which is going to cause a lot of resistance. And two, it's going to be siphoning so much of that energy that needs to be used for the repatterning and the transitioning and all of these things for just the doing, right? This is meant to be a season of listening and not forcing. So forcing yourself to work at full capacity is siphoning the energy required to help you move into this transition and for your body to recalibrate. And I did a post about this not too long ago. If you're on my email list or follow on social media, you probably saw it, but I did a post about the curse of the ing. And it was about how so many of the women I talked to, they're in all the ing, I'm trying this, I'm doing this, I'm researching this, I'm doing, it's all the doing, all of it. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with that, what I find is that when we get so caught up in all of this ing, all the doing and the trying and the doing this, I'm listening to this, I'm trying this, all of this, we're leaving out the most important ing, which is listening. And really, for me, it's the listening and the being. We're leaving out the listening. And if we're constantly doing all of these things, we're not leaving the room for the listening. And that's what we're being asked to do right now in where we are in this transitional phase as we move into the new paradigm. It's about listening. It's a season of listening. So if we're constantly doing, we don't have the space for the listening. So I mentioned that, adding the white space to your calendar kind of thing. It's having the space to do that, to listen and tune in, listen to your body, listen to your intuition, listening for the divine downloads. It's the listening and the being, not the forcing. I want to offer you that here to basically let yourself off the hook of feeling like you have to operate at full capacity, because there are going to be a lot of feelings that come up for you around this, feeling like, okay, on one hand, I'm feeling like the call to slow down and the call to let go of things and let go of obligation. But on the other hand, it's like, well, but these people need me and these people are going to be disappointed. And but who am I without this? All of these things are going to come up, and there is going to be a lot of identity crisis as we're letting go of things. And so the listening is going to be so important for you. The letting go of the doing all the time and stepping into the listening is going to be so important. So I don't offer you that is if you feel like you need the permission to let yourself off the hook for needing to operate at full capacity. I don't think that we collectively, the soul-led, soul-guided women, I don't think we're meant to do that right now. We're not meant to operate at full capacity right now. So if we're not meant to operate at full capacity and we're here in this season of listening and not forcing, what do we do, right? Because that's going to be the question. So what do I do? I want to offer you some practices to support you, some somatic bait. Now, I don't want this to be like this list of to-do things and more doing for you, but I want these practices to be a part of your listening and being in how you're integrating what we're stepping into, and let this be what helps stabilize you. So first, starting with some somatic things. And gentle movement. I want to offer this first. Now, this could be just moving your body, like it could be like somatic dance or moving your body, but it could also be like maybe you invite some more gentle exercise practices for you. I'm not saying you have to get rid of all your maybe, hit stuff that you like to do every now and then, but maybe bring in some more gentle movement, like things like yoga or meditation or things like that. Some more gentle movements like yoga, that where you can really be more in tune and touch with your body while you're moving, right? Rather than like a mindless exercise, which I'm not dissing that. So sometimes you want a mindless exercise and you don't have to think about anything. That's great. But if we're really talking about the somatic grounding part and staying in our body, we want types of movement that are going to help us stay connected to the body. So keeping that in mind. I also want to offer you walking. Sounds so basic and simple, right? But getting out, maybe it's a nature walk, maybe it's just walking outside, maybe it's walking in silence, like not listening to anything. Again, it's just about getting into your body. Maybe it's breath work or breath awareness. Maybe you take a few times during the day to tune into your breath or do like a quick, 2-3 minute little breath exercise. And then something I mentioned in the previous episode, I want to mention here again, is bringing like hands to your body. Think hand to heart, hands on your heart, on your chest and your belly. But taking time when your hands are on your body, you're giving yourself a hug, you have your hands on your heart and your belly, you're bringing yourself back into your body. And that's the whole point. So maybe taking a few times during the day to bring hands to your heart or hand to your belly and your heart and just getting into your body. This is what helps create that strong, solid foundation we were talking about at the beginning. Having this flexible nervous system where I can get back into my body when I get dysregulated, this is how that happens. And these tools, these somatic grounding tools, are how we get back into the body and how we stay connected with the body. Now, some other things I want to offer you, things for like nervous system hygiene. First, I want to offer reducing stimulation, or at least reducing overstimulation. So noticing where your stimulation is coming from. And I want to tie this in together with the second one I wanted to offer you, which is limiting your information intake. So I feel like both of these go together, especially when we're talking about information and taking in information from social media. So maybe what this looks like for you is maybe it looks like taking a break. Maybe this is a great time for you to like go through your algorithm and kind of clean it up. If you find like, okay, these pages give me anxiety when I look at them, or these pages, I want to offer you here to check in with how you feel when you're looking at specific pages. And what I mean by this is when you're looking at, say you follow coaches or mentors or, thought leaders. So when you see their content, is it you're looking at it and you're like, oh, this is great. I can add this to, my mental repertoire to contemplate, to think about, to bring into what I'm doing. Gives me something to really think about, contemplate. Or are you seeing it and you're either questioning yourself, like, am I doing things right? Are you comparing yourself? Does it make you feel like you're behind, or now you have anxiety because you feel like, well, I should be doing that. So now I need to. So how do you feel when you look at these pages that you follow, the people that you follow? And that's, for me, that's all you need to know. What needs to go, what doesn't. So yes, you could do a digital detox. Like that's a great practice to do. And I have a little guide for that because I talked about this, I think it was year before last in like my little New Year series. I'll put it in the show notes. If you want like a guide, something guided to help you with the digital detox, that could be something you do where you take a break and you kind of let go of social media and digital stuff for a while. But really it's just about being mindful and intentional of what you're taking in. And if you're someone like me, like I don't watch the news, but I follow, some news pages on Instagram just because I want to be informed. And I think that's important. You just have to set some boundaries around it, right? So maybe you limit how many you follow, and you follow really, just be intentional about the ones you follow. And then you have to kind of set some boundaries and parameters around it. I mean, we all know like the world is a dumpster fire right now, and especially our country. It's just, everything is just a mess. And so it can be a lot. It can be a lot to take in, and especially for those of us who are highly sensitive people, it's a lot, and it impacts our nervous system on a very real level. And so you just have to be intentional about time parameters, and if you feel, and especially being mindful of the energy that you're doing it in. If it's like a mindless scroll thing, that is a really good recipe for doom scrolling. And 2 hours later, you're like, I just lost 2 hours of my life. I never get back. So being mindful about that. And maybe if you find that you're using social media to numb out or to dissociate, like these are these are good things to know, right? The awareness piece is important. Maybe you find something else. So maybe if it's like a time filler thing, it's like, okay, I just need something to do mindlessly for a little while. It's where I'm stepping away from work or whatever you're doing. Maybe you find something else. Like for me, is one of the reasons that I really got back into reading books like fiction, nonfiction, historical fiction, all of that. So maybe you pick up a book, and especially like fiction and historical fiction, those kind of books where you're not having to like think on a cerebral level. It's like, it's kind of an escape, but it's typically a healthier escape than doom scrolling on social media. So maybe you find something like that where you can, fill the time if you're looking for something to fill the time, but it's doing it in a healthier way. But I really encourage you for nervous system hygiene to be mindful of what you're taking in, the amount of information you're taking in, and just the information in general, like the quality of the information you're taking in, and really do some deep work within yourself to see, why am I following the people that I'm following? And how do I feel looking at these pages, et cetera, like looking at those kind of things, because that's what's important. The other thing I want to offer you too, and kind of this nervous system hygiene, is maybe you have some rituals that you want to add in that helps with nervous system grounding, right? Maybe you have something you do at night, like a little nighttime routine that kind of gets you, it's like a meditation or a stretching thing you do at night. Maybe it's a morning thing. Maybe there's rituals you do throughout the day, but just think of things. It's all about getting into the body, connecting with your body, and building things, building that strong, flexible nervous system. That's what we're looking for. And one other thing I want to offer you here as some tools, some practices to help you. This is going to sound so basic and so simple, but it's just listening to your body. And I know you're like probably rolling your eyes right now, like, okay, yeah, I know. But hear me out. Listening to your body, this is going to be like gold stepping into this new paradigm. It's all about listening to your body. Because if we're talking about being self-sourced and self-sovereign and self-empowered, all these things, it's going to require us to be able to listen to the body and understand what our body's telling us. And you might be listening to this, and there's no shame, no judgment on this. You might be listening to this and you're like, I don't even know what that means. Like, what am I listening to my body? What am I listening for? So when I'm talking about listening to your body, ways to help with this, ask yourself yes, no questions, and then notice the expansion, contraction in your body. And you can start with this with super simple, like asking yourself just like silly questions, doing this like what you're going to eat for lunch or dinner, or what workout do I want to do today? But asking yourself, but ask it in a yes, no way. Ask yourself yes, no questions, and feel the expansion and the contraction in your body. The expansive yes, the contractive no, like feel that in your body. This is going to be so crucial stepping into the new paradigm, because that's going to be where the answers are coming from. Like, we're no longer looking for answers externally. We're no longer the systems and the structures that we're all set up. Like it's all about internal self-sourcing now. So it is required for us to learn the language of the body and learn what our body is telling us. And the other thing I want to offer you here is to really listen to your body and trust the sensation over logic. And this goes back to that example I gave you earlier about working with that mentor of mine, where my body was saying no, even though logically I was like, I really want to. My mind was like, yes. My body said no. Like, it didn't make logical sense, but there's a reason for it. And I'm sure the reason for it will unfold over the next 6 months when I'm not in there, and whatever happens is going to happen. But trusting the sensation over the logic, because it's not always going to make logical sense. The important thing is that you feel the expansion versus contraction in the body, and then you trust that. So it's not just about the listening. We also have to honor and trust what the body is saying. And when I tell you, this is so important. This is like the currency that we're moving into, like that we're using as we're moving into. It's listening and trusting the body. And then one more thing I want to offer you here as practices is boundaries, using boundaries as medicine. This means, because energy is going to be currency in this new paradigm, we have to protect our energy at all costs. Where it's going, how we're using it, right? So with boundaries, I'm talking about like boundaries with less explaining and more containment, like protecting your energy and setting, whether it's physical boundaries with people, environments, energy, like the boundaries, protect your energy. That's what it's about, protecting your energy. Checking in with where do you feel like your energy is leaking? Is it certain environments? Is it certain people? Is it certain actions you're taking? Is it certain things you're doing in your business? certain conversations, like where is your energy leaking, and establish those boundaries. Protect your time and especially protect your recovery time. Heck, protect it at all costs. This is going to be important, but this is about your boundaries are going to be about preservation. It's going to be about preserving your energy and knowing that my energy is my currency in this new paradigm and I have to protect it as much as I can. So be mindful of that. So the last thing I want to leave you here before we close is just mentioning the identity work here one more time, because this new paradigm shift is an identity shift, and it's asking us to let the old self die gently. And I know that sounds really morbid, a little morbid, but we have to let the old self die to make room for this new one. And so we're letting go of this version of you that survived, and we're going to make space for the version of you that leads differently. And you might not feel like you've been in survival mode this whole time. You might, but some of you listening might feel like, well, I don't really feel like I've been in survival mode the whole time. But the fact is that the old paradigm, the old structure, the cross of planning was about survival. It was about survival of the tribal, of the collective, right? That everything was created, the structures and the systems and all of this were built for the survival of the collective, the survival of the tribe. This is no more. So now there's a version of you that's going to lead differently because now it's coming from inside. Now it's coming from this self-sourced place. So it's not about surviving. It's about thriving. It's about living. It's about really being present and living life. And that is, for so many of us, going to require an ego death, an old version, letting that old version of us go. And the grieving that comes with that is so important. Because so many of the women are going to be grieving, so many of us women stepping into this new paradigm are going to be grieving versions of themselves, like the achiever and the caretaker and the one who held it all together, the one who could do it all, the productive one, the hard worker, like all of these versions of us that we know are not going to serve us here in the new paradigm as we step into this. And this grief so often goes unnamed and unchecked and unfelt, unmet. And then we carry this mixed bag of emotions with us into this new identity. And then these little pieces kind of pop up here and there, and it starts to build resistance, and it can start to cause some energetic stagnation in the body. It's like these stuck, stored things in the body, right, that are going to end up showing their face. And so I want to offer you this as an option too. So that the mentor I was talking about earlier, she did this first for herself, and then she led us through a process of this in the container we were in. But she had this really like huge moment of awakening where she felt like this new version of her was just kind of emerging from the surface. And so she did this ritual for herself where she did basically like a funeral for her former self. Like she had a whole ceremony of funeral, like wore black, like the whole shebang, and had this whole ceremony where she was letting go of these pieces of her. And so we ended up doing this as a group in our group container. And I thought this was so genius because it's you witnessing this like on a somatic level of you letting go and mourning, grieving this version of you, like it died. And so I want to offer you that as an option here, if that sounds like a powerful way for you to really embody this, because I think so often, like I said, we just kind of skip over that part and we're like, oh yeah, I'm letting this, and I'm this new version and this new thing. But we haven't really processed all that goes with this ego death thing that happens, and this letting go of old ways, and this whole like recalibration, repatterning that we're talking about, of letting this old self go. Because I know you can feel like these things I've been doing, these ways I've been doing things, they're not serving me anymore. So you know there's things that you're leaving behind. You know that this identity as the achiever, the productive one, the caretaker, like you know that following that identity is not going to serve you here in the new paradigm. So it's okay to mourn the productivity, to mourn the certainty, and also to mourn the dreams that may no longer fit. Because I think that's the other thing, is this version of you that you're leaving behind might have had dreams and desires that no longer fit in this new version of you in this new paradigm. And that's okay. But that can be really sad too, because it can also make you question, what do I really want? Why did those dreams, like I was so excited about those and now I'm not? It makes you question your identity. You might feel like you're losing yourself. You might feel like, do I even have dreams and desires? But I want to normalize this too and tell you that it's okay if your dreams and your desires are unclear right now. Like maybe you feel like, I don't really know what I want right now. Like if you were to ask me and you wanted me to write it down, I don't really know what I would say. And that's totally okay. You don't have to have the clarity right now. You don't have to have the answers right now. This goes back to, we were talking in the previous episode about being in that void and that in between, that liminal space. It's okay to not have the answers. But what you can do is know that there are things you're leaving behind and you get to grieve and mourn those. It's okay to have the grieving in the morning. It's okay to feel that around it. You're releasing a version of you that was built for survival, and that requires an identity shift, and it requires a leaving behind and a death of sorts, right? So I will tell you this, the identity always stabilizes after the embodiment. It's not before the embodiment. It's always after the embodiment. So if we can process these things and recognize what I'm leaving behind, what was no longer viable, ways of operating that are no longer viable for me, and the ways I know I want to operate in the future, at least, in a general sense, your identity will stabilize. The body is going to lead, your mind will follow. And so your mind is going to spiral at some point and be like, well, I have to know the answers. I have to have clarity. I have to know where. It doesn't. You don't. Your body is going to lead the way. And this is why it goes back to the strategies I was offering you earlier, ways to help us get into the body. That's why we're doing that. That's why those practices are so important. We want to stay in the body and let the body lead. The mind will follow. The mind will catch up. We can just tell, just hang on, chill out. The answers will come, because they will. And so for this, I offer you that ceremony that I talked about. If you feel like you want to have a funeral for your identity death, your ego death, you can do that. Maybe there's some journaling and visualization you want to try for this. Maybe you take a day to act as if, leading and acting and doing from that new version, even if you feel like you maybe haven't fully stepped into her yet, but maybe just take a day to act as if, just to really feel and embody that. Maybe you do some visualizations and visualize yourself. Something I want to offer you here that I feel could be really relevant is my Becoming Her experiment that I did last year. I'll put that in the show notes if you want to jump into that. It's such a great way to practice this. It's literally an experiment. That's what it's for. It's offering you some things to try on to see what works and what doesn't for you in your journey of becoming. Because that's really what this is about. It's just how to support yourself in the journey of becoming. And it's such a great way. There's a Telegram group in there. So if you want to ask questions to me and all that, it's a great way to do it. So put that in the show notes if you want to try that on for size. And that's a really great way to give yourself some support right now. Another thing I want to offer you is some parts work, identity work. Now I do parts work with my clients in our one-on-one sessions. And even if you're not doing a traditional, a real parts work session parts work session, you can do this, talking to yourself, journaling it out, visualizing it, and basically just identifying what parts of you might be afraid or holding back from stepping into this new identity, this new paradigm. Is it fear of success, fear of standing out, fear of rejection, fear of disappointment? Is it the achiever in you, right? Who am I if I'm not the achiever, the caretaker, right? But just finding those parts of you that are kind of at odds with each other, about letting some of these old patterns and ways of doing things go and kind of stepping into a new way of being. So I'm just offering you that as something else to try as well. So as we close out this series, I want to kind of bring all of this together. The cross of planning gave us the external systems to rely on. And the cross of the sleeping phoenix, where we're moving into, is asking us to become the system. So the cross of planning gave us the external systems. This new phoenix era is asking us to become the system. We are the system. This means that safety comes from self-trust. It means that stability is going to come from regulation, having that strong foundation, that nervous system we talked about. It means that leadership comes from embodiment, from integrity. And it means that authority is going to come from true presence, true intimacy with you. We've talked about intimacy so much. So, and I want to say this, if the self-trust and the embodiment and the intimacy, if all those things still feel like foreign concepts in your body, and you're it's okay. It doesn't have to make sense right now, but that's what we're moving into, and it's going to land eventually if it hasn't landed already. And I want you to remember that this is a process. This isn't like a switch flips in 2027 and everything's different, and it's not like that, because as I've mentioned already in this series, we've already been seeing the lead up to this. We've been seeing the transition for years now, moving into this new era. So it's a process. We don't have to rush it. You don't have to have all the answers now. You don't have to have all the clarity now. You don't even have to know who you're going to be yet. You don't have to know that either. All we have to do is know how to stay. All we have to do is be able to learn to stay with yourself in the process of the becoming. because you're gonna arrive on the other side whether you want to or not. You're gonna get there. But if we can just stay with ourselves and stay with our body in the becoming, that's the work. And that's why I wanted to offer you that Becoming Her experiment as a really great tool to help you with that, and to be able to try all these things on to help you in the becoming, to be able to build that safety and self-trust and regulation and all of those things. You are becoming the system. You are the system. And if you feel like you're currently in the between, maybe you're navigating the in-between, maybe you feel like maybe I'm close to the other side of the in-between, you feel like you're no longer aligned with who you were, but maybe you're not quite clear on who you're becoming. This is why I'm creating this 12-week program called Leadershi that I've been talking about, because you don't have to navigate this unsupported. That's what this program is for. And Leadershi is a program, this 12-week container I've created for women who feel the intensity of this collective shift, and they want a grounded, embodied way to move through it without burning out, without collapsing, without rushing themselves into clarity that's not there, that's not ready. They want to be able to move through this feeling self-sourced, self-resourced. So in this space, we're going to focus on stabilizing the nervous system during change. We're going to focus on working with your body as the primary source of guidance for yourself. We're going to look at physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritual, all the parts of the body. We're going to focus on understanding how your unique human design and gene keys support you in this liminal space, and in what parts of your chart should you be working with, right? What energy should I be working with? We're going to focus on building the capacity to hold uncertainty without losing yourself, and to build the foundation to take with you into this new paradigm. Now, I don't want this to sound like this is like forcing an identity, or even like predicting like what your future self is going to look like. It's not about that. It's about becoming the kind of woman who can hold frequency, who can lead from presence, and who can model what self-trust looks like while the rest of the world is calibrating and potentially collapsing and burning down around you. Can you have the capacity to hold the frequency while the world burns around you, and you can still lead like a queen and build a legacy that you know you're meant for? Legacy is for women who sense that their life and their work are becoming a living example, not just for their clients or not even for the community around you, but for the next generation watching what female leadership looks like. That's what this is for. And we are building the capacity, we're building the bodies for that, for the woman who wants to be able to hold that. This is how legacies are built in this new paradigm, in the era of the sleeping phoenix. This is how legacies are built. It's through embodiment, through regulation, through lived integrity, lived experience, lived integrity. And that's what legacies are for. And I know if you're listening to this, you already feel that you're meant for something big, and that you're meant to build a legacy, and you want to be able to hold it all. You want to be able to hold the frequency and hold it, have that self-trust, that self-sovereignty we were talking about. So if you feel called to be supported through this threshold, through this new paradigm that we're stepping into, the doors are open to Legacy, and you can check the show notes for all the information. There's a pay in full option. There's payment plan options. There's options if you want to add more support, depending on where you want the support. If you want mineral testing to help with the physical body, if you want frequency recalibration sessions to help read your energy field and see what potentially could be holding you back, blocking you from stepping into this new identity and the new paradigm. All of these are really powerful ways of doing that. So check the link in the show notes. And I've never created anything like this before. This is something I've never created before. This is a group program, which I don't typically do a lot of group programs. So this is also new in that sense, because I wanted it to be a group of women where you're not, I wanted it to be an experience where you're not just learning from me, but you're learning from other women who are in the same place, right? Like-minded women who are all in the same place, going through all the same things together, navigating this together, learning from each other, lifting each other up. That's what this is for. So check the link. I'll be talking about this a lot. I'll be talking about this a little bit more, but you are getting a first look and you get first dibs. So I am going to limit the space so it's not a huge group, so that we can really go deep with each other, with the work, and create the legacy that we know we're meant for. So thank you for listening to this series. I hope this really gave you some powerful insight to help support yourself through this shift that we're currently in, that we're stepping into, this new paradigm we're stepping into. And I would love to hear your thoughts. So shoot me a message, shoot me an email, and I can't wait to see you inside of Legacy. I'll see you soon.